Welcome back to the podcast, and this is Ngân. I'm your host. Well, our special guest today is one of the dedicated teachers at the Wall Street English Phan Văn Trị Center. He is the man behind many remarkable success of the Wall Street English student. He is from America, and he is also the teacher showing the special love for the teaching occupation. Now, it is my honor to welcome to the show Mr. Matt. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. How do you feel today?
I'm feeling very good today. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get started with your background so that our audience can get to know more about you. How long have you lived in Vietnam?
I have lived in Vietnam now for over 2.5 years.
So how long have you worked as a teacher at the Wall Street English?
For 2.5 years.
Okay, perfect. So I want to know about your first day working at the Wall Street English. Yeah, as far as you remember, I would like to know about your first time approaching a special teaching method at the Wall Street English, as well as your first time to meeting up with a Vietnamese learner.
My first day at Wall Street English, now that I think about it, feels like yesterday. When I arrived at the center, I just started observing classes. Something that I heard a lot about when I was being recruited and hired at Wall Street English was about the methodology. And so observing the first few classes was very interesting for me when I first started. Before I came to Vietnam, I was a teacher in Korea for about 3 years. So teaching adults was a very new experience for me. I was actually very nervous about teaching adult students rather than kids, but I'm very fortunate in that we have some great students at this center. The students are amazing, and so it was actually very, very comforting when I first started teaching here because the learners at the center were very eager.
So what makes you most excited about working at the Wall Street English in general, at the Wall Street English Phan Văn Trị Center in particular?
So what's very exciting about this job for me is interacting with the students, interacting with the staff. Something that I also really enjoy are just the actual classes and events. I think that a lot of times when I first meet students in classes, they're almost scared of the teacher. And so something that I think myself and the other teachers do a really good job of is just building an environment that helps students learn English and is very comfortable for them.
Yeah, I used to be a student, and I was also used to be very scared of the English, especially like not confident enough in speaking with a foreigner, especially the foreign teachers. So how did you do to help them tackle these issues?
So something I do a lot is, and this is my mindset when I'm teaching, is I just focus on each student in the class, and I do my best to not just personalize the class, but I also have this mindset of whoever the student that's in front of me that I'm teaching is, I'm their biggest fan.
Yeah, so it is kind of the way you customize your teaching style to meet the individual goal of the students, right?
So something that we're really working on right now is that you analyzing the student profiles and then suiting the lesson plans and the lesson structures to the students depending on the different student profiles. A way I'm doing that is just trying to change interaction patterns, change activities. Always, I do my best to remember everybody's names. I always tell, we have close to 450 students right now, and I do my best to try and remember everybody's name.
As I know that there are various learners at the Wall Street English, ranging from the high school students to the university students. The students may be the manager or the doctor, yeah, something like that. So depending on the learners, they have different objectives to improve their English. So do you have any challenge when you teach English for them?
Well, I think something that I'm always working on with students is that sometimes you'll have students say, oh, I'm not quite interested in that topic, or oh, I don't enjoy this topic. Something I'm always working with those students about is that if you want to really improve your fluency in English, you need to start learning about different topics so that when you meet different people from different backgrounds and cultures, you can have actual conversations with them in English and about a broad range of topics.
So from your teaching experience, can you share some tips for our audience so that they can be well prepared to break the ice and start a conversation with foreigners?
The best advice that I can give for Vietnamese students who want to start conversations with foreigners is to practice a lot, be confident. And to build your confidence, you need to practice and you need to be prepared. So maybe something you can do is prepare like a basic list of questions to start a conversation, some basic icebreakers that you've practiced several times, and then as well as basic introduction questions like hello, what's your name, how are you? The biggest thing is confidence, and that's by practicing and being prepared.
Wow, good. In case they don't understand what you are saying, so how can you express your idea to help them understand what the foreigner is saying?
So as a teacher, if a student doesn't quite understand what I'm saying or misunderstands me, something that as a teacher I can do is talk slower, maybe talk louder, simplify my language, use some more basic vocabulary and some less complicated questions.
Good. So are there any specific success story of your students that spring to your mind right now? Because I believe that that story is a real case study for our students to be motivated in their learning journey.
There was a student actually about 2 weeks ago that I had a student meeting with, and they were finishing their course at Wall Street English. He started at level 3. So he started at level 3, which is low level. We would call it just the start of the pre-intermediate levels. 16 and was starting level 17 out of 20. And he had been doing different interviews at different companies. And so he did really well with his English interview, and he was very successful. So they recently got a job at an international company in Da Nang. And so they were actually preparing to move to Da Nang to work at an international company. So it's something I'm very proud of.
So I would like to know if there is one piece of advice for our students if they feel discouraged, if they don't see any improvement in their language skill, what would it be?
So a big piece of advice that I give to students is don't be afraid to make mistakes. And don't worry about being perfect. So a lot of times when students are in a class or they're being assessed, is they get really, really self-conscious about their mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable. Mistakes are the best way to learn. And so they're part of the natural process of learning a language. I think a lot of students, when they first start, they expect to be like, go from level 1, level 2 to native-like fluency in like 2 months. That's not going to happen. If you set a goal that in 2 months, I'm going to go from learning the alphabet to having basic conversations, basic spelling skills, that's much more reasonable. And then from there, you can improve to more advanced conversations, more vocab, and over time, you'll begin to really, really develop your English language skills.
Okay, so the students should practice English on every single day, right?
I tell students that try and set aside at least 4 to 6 hours a week, okay? And if possible, an hour a day is ideal, but because of we have a lot of students who they are business owners or they're managers, and then not only do they have a job that takes up a lot of their time, but then a lot of them also have families, they're married, they have children. So a big thing with a lot of students is actually time management. And even necessarily if it isn't an hour, maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes a day is a good goal. And so it's about setting reasonable and achievable goals, and this gets it more into time management, okay? But if you set the right expectations, you have the right study plan, and you have the proper time management, you'll be able to, over time, really see improvement with your English, and then just staying motivated.
So what is the big motivation for you to go to the Wall Street English and teach the students?
So the biggest motivation I have to come to Wall Street English and teach is to help the students, be there for the students in their journey at Wall Street English. And to me, it's to help the students really progress, achieve their goals, achieve their dreams at Wall Street English. That's my biggest motivator.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you for your sharing.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great talking to you. It's been great. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time and participation in our podcast. And I absolutely believe that your sharing today is very helpful for the students, especially the Wall Street English students.
Thank you.
Hi audience, our podcast has finally come to the end, and I am Ngân. It is my honor to host this episode. Thank you for watching this podcast.
Chọn Wall Street English, tự tin nói tiếng Anh.